Top 5 female convicts reacting to their sentences. Women have always been regarded as the fairer sex, gentler in nature and much more nurturing. Women have the image of mothers, of wives, of caretakers. But there are always exceptions, and even the delicate nature of women can be corrupted into something horrendous. Today, we'll see the reactions of 5 female convicts who committed unbelievable acts of violence and evil, and who got their comeuppance in due time. Number 5. Diana Lovejoy. Diana Lovejoy was born in October 26, 1972. She was a fitness coach, triathlon runner, former Nokia employee, and University of California graduate. She's serving a 26-year sentence for the attempted murder of her husband. It's tough to conciliate the lives of Diana, the fitness coach and part-time YouTuber who liked to chronicle her ready-to-eat meals side by side with the woman who attempted to take the life of her husband. Her attempt at the life of her son's father is a stark contrast to the happy, healthy life she lived. Diana Lovejoy married Greg Mulvihill in 2007, and they started trying for a baby, but unfortunately Diana had 8 consecutive miscarriages. Their marriage suffered severely because of it, and the birth of their child in 2014 didn't ameliorate the situation. Their divorce case lasted for 2 years. In the end, custody was given to Diana. The court ordered that the couple share the custody in 2017 after Greg petitioned for it, and also determined that Diana was to pay a monthly $100 as child support. Diana couldn't afford it, so she resolved to kill Greg, assisted by her shooting instructor and boyfriend, Weldon McDavid Jr. McDavid Jr. had taught Diana how to shoot and also installed a security system in her house. Greg was walking on the dirt road to Avenida Soledad when, on November 13, 2017, Diana shot Greg in the chest. Fortunately, he survived the attempt on his life. At the trial, witnesses testified about Diana's past behavior, with the final nail in her sentence being the testimony of her aunt, who claimed that Lovejoy had asked her prior to the incident if she knew someone Diana could hire to scare or even take Greg's life. Diana was sentenced to 26 years in prison. Number 4. Kayla Norton. There's no reason for racism. There's no explanation that can justify undue hatred for another person based solely on the color of their skin. God made us all from the same materials. There is no reason for undue prejudice. Yet some people don't think that. Kayla Norton and her boyfriend, Jose Joe Torres, were sentenced to a combined 19 years in prison for terrorizing an 8-year-old's birthday party. Reportedly, the couple, along with others, drove around the place where the celebration was happening with Confederate battle flags, shouting racial slurs and making armed threats. When she was brought to the courtroom, Kayla wept and pleaded with the victims for forgiveness. "I'm so sorry this happened to you," she said, looking at the area of the courtroom where the families present at the birthday party were seated. She said, "But I want you to know that that was not me. That is not me." When the judge read their sentences, both Norton and Torres were in tears. Torres was sentenced to spend 13 years in prison and 7 years of probation, and Kayla was to spend 6 years in jail with 9 years of probation on top. Both of them were also banished from Douglas County. Number 3. Mitchell Blair. There are evil people in the world, but as evil as Mitchell Blair, it's hard to imagine. In 2015, then 35-year-old Blair was living in Detroit with her 4 children when she was evicted for not paying rent. Her friends and relatives were tired of bailing Mitchell out of her money troubles, so they refused to keep helping her. Finally, she stopped asking, and, disregarding their counsel to go back to school and get a job, she did something horrendous. On March the 24th, 2015, Mitchell was served an eviction notice, but she wasn't there. So a crew from the 36th District Court went inside to remove her furniture. What they found there was shocking. Inside a deep freezer in Mitchell's living room was the frozen body of a teenage girl wrapped in a plastic bag. Underneath her, the body of a young boy. Neighbors reported Mitchell's whereabouts to the police, who found her with 2 of her children, aged 8 and 17. But her other 2 kids, Stephen Gage Berry, 9, and Stoney Ann Blair, 13, were missing. After some brief questioning, Mitchell was arrested for murder. Reportedly, she said, "I'm sorry," as police took her away. The bodies in the freezer were identified as being Blair's children. Mitchell Blair confessed both to the murders, telling the judge she'd killed her demons after she found them raping her youngest son, a claim that's never been verified. Blair confronted her son Stephen, who was 9 years old, after finding her 8-year-old son stimulating sexual acts with a doll and asking if someone had done that to him. After the 8-year-old indicated his brother Mitchell extracted a confession from the 9-year-old and started punching and kicking him, she placed a garbage bag over the boy's head to choke him, poured scalding hot water over the kid's genitals, and tied a belt around his neck, lifting him up until he lost consciousness. She tortured her own son like that for 2 weeks, until on August the 30th, 2012, he couldn't resist the pain anymore and died. Mitchell placed his body in the deep freezer. 9 months after the incident, Blair allegedly found out that Stoney was also raping her youngest son. She then starved the girl and brutally beat her until she died in May of 2013. She was going to turn herself in, she said, but when her youngest son pleaded that she not do so, she changed her plans. Mitchell placed Stoney in the freezer along with her brother. They were there for 3 years, and no one looked for them. Mitchell told the judge that she felt no remorse for the things she'd done, saying, "They had no remorse for what they did to my son. There was no other option. There was no excuse for rape. I would kill them again." Mitchell pleaded guilty and was sentenced to a life sentence without the possibility of parole for the first-degree murder of her 2 children. Number 2. Elizabeth Escalona. Elizabeth Escalona was sentenced for the cruel treatment she gave to her 2-year-old daughter, whom she beat so severely that the girl was put into a coma. Escalona was 23 years old when she tortured her daughter, Jocelyn Cedillo. On September the 7th, 2011, Escalona beat the girl mercilessly, kicking her in the stomach and beating her with a milk jug, and then superglued the kid's hands to a wall. The kid suffered multiple injuries, including broken ribs, skin ripped off her hands, and brain damage from the beatings. State District Judge Larry Mitchell said he believed that Escalona was a victim of domestic and sexual abuse as a child, but that this fact couldn't factor into the judgment at hand, that Escalona was to be convicted of the heinous crime of savagely beating her daughter. Escalona didn't react to the verdict. Her family members on the stand wailed and wept with their hands in their laps as TV cameras surrounded them, writes the Dallas Morning News. Escalona was sentenced to 99 years in prison. She'll be eligible for parole in 30 years. Number 1. Erica Mae Butts and Shanita Latrice Cunningham. Erica Mae Butts and Shanita Latrice Cunningham were sentenced in 2009 for a crime that has no explanation. The pair pleaded guilty and were both convicted to life sentences, 2 years after they mercilessly took the life of young Serenity Richardson, then 3 years old. Erica and Shanita were visited by Serenity Richardson because Erica was Serenity's godmother and her mother's best friend, while Shanita was Erica's girlfriend. They were taking care of the child for about 2 weeks in their home in Somerville, South Carolina, when the abuse took place. Serenity was repeatedly beaten with a belt and plastic coat hangers to the point that the scars were visible on the child's body. Near the end, there wasn't an inch of the kid's skin that wasn't hurt by the women's beatings. The pair explained the beatings by saying that Serenity had a potty incident. The assistant manager's solicitor, Elizabeth Gordon, said that their explanation was, "We didn't know what we did would kill her." When Serenity became unresponsive, the pair tried putting bleach under her nose and putting ice on her in attempts to revive the child. When EMTs arrived, Serenity had been dead for some time already. Elizabeth Gordon was quoted saying, "In most of the homicide by child abuse cases, somebody made a bad decision one day. Butts and Cunningham made a decision every single day that they were going to beat that child. The family of little Serenity can at least take some solace on the fact that both Erica and Shanita will not be eligible for parole, serving their entire life sentences." That's all for today's video. What are your thoughts on the reactions of these criminals in court? Do you think they got what they deserved? Let us know in the comments section below.